From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBICD, Primetime Capper, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great, and I hope you're feeling the same. And it is time for the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTimeAngles. And oh boy, we ourselves a pretty good weekend this weekend with a whole lot of stuff going on in the sports world. News-wise and everything like that. We were able to see that we had Mr. DeAndre Hopkins sign up with the Tennessee Titans. Kind of a surprise to all of us because we thought he would be going to a team that's probably has bigger Super Bowl aspirations than the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are having issues with who's going to play quarterback next season. Are they going to hold on to Derrick Henry? Is the coach still going to be here? There's a lot of factors playing into it, but as the caption reads, DeAndre Hopkins chooses the Titans in free agency in somewhat of a surprising move. Is he seeing something most aren't, or is this a cash grab? And you know what? I will say this. At this point in DeAndre Hopkins' career and in DeAndre Hopkins' life, I think that this probably is the smartest move that you could possibly make because at the end of the day, we all know how hard it is to win a Super Bowl. But we all know how hard it is to maintain a fortune as well too. And when you have a lot of people to take care of and a lot of people to look out for and things of that nature, you might need to take the best possible deal because this literally is what this seems like to me is that you're taking money because you need the money. Nothing is wrong with that at all. But if you're really trying to win a Super Bowl, the Tennessee Titans are not the team for that. Even though I do feel that Ryan Tannehill probably will be their day one starter, they're not going to go against Ryan Tannehill being the day one starter. It's just not going to happen. But there's other things in place right now that say to you that this team is looking for a right now situation. They know they can win the division. That was something that's very attractive for bringing Hopkins because regardless of who's playing quarterback, they still have it in them to win this division, in my opinion, at the end of the day. And we all know that this team is really locked in. Is really locked in on trying to do their absolute best when it comes down to the getting to the promised land. And this team has been one of the better teams in the NFL the last 5-6 years. If you go look at their record, they're in the top 5 when it comes to win losses in the NFL. Mike Variable, one of the better coaches in the NFL. He has playoff wins. He's had moments where he won significant playoff games. So there's a lot of attraction here for a player, a veteran who's looking to be somewhere that's a little bit more low key. And that's just about winning. You know what I mean? It's not about, the diva of the week and, who's going to be the coolest guy or we are all-star team and all this good stuff. No, it's just a team where he knows that you show up on Sundays, you do your job, we win the game, we go about our life. That's it. There is no pizzazz to this thing in Tennessee. It's just straight hardcore football. And if you're going to choose a place to just go play football, Tennessee's the perfect place for that. And he knows that it probably won't be the biggest media circus following him around there either. But the options he had, teams like Kansas City, teams like Miami, teams like the Baltimore Ravens, teams like the who else was in the DeAndre Hopkins, the Browns. It's just there would have been so much more pressure playing for those teams because those teams have markets that have a media that is very keen to winning, and trying to win games or trying to bring up stories and things like that if it's Cleveland and stuff. So, a low key personality, a low key situation, and Tennessee's not a bad team. It's just that they don't have attractive pieces. That's the whole thing. And it happens. It's okay. It happens. That's the NFL for you. We have teams that are very blockbuster. They're very right there in the forefront, marquee. And then you have teams like the Tennessee Titans that can be really good or they're going to be really bad. But at the end of the day, they're very middling. And so pretty much this is where you get your surprise at. But you got to get that money. You got to get that dough. And DeAndre, I'm happy for you, bro. You made the decision that was best for you and your family moving forward. So with that, let's go ahead and move forward to our next topic, and that's going to be, is Oregon State the dark horse to win the Pac-12 outright after a strong finish in the 2022 season? This team actually became a very, very tough team at the end of the year. I think they could have beat anybody in the Pac-12 the way that they were playing at the end of the season. They got themselves a monster bowl win in Las Vegas, beating the Florida Gators. Florida Gators did come in there a little shorthanded that day as well, too. So you have that in your pocket, but still, it didn't matter. Oregon State played up to the moment, and they absolutely shut down a Florida team that you would think that their second, third string guys are excellent players, but that wasn't the case that day. Oregon State just literally went in there and they sent a message to the rest of the nation, in my opinion. I felt like they were very effortless in that game. And it was a good look for a team that's been struggling for so long. Now they have players in place, and thanks to the transfer portal, they're able to pick up on some of these West Coast guys who were top-rated players coming out of high school, nationally top-rated players. And they are a safe space, a safe home for them. TJ Ugalele, whatever his name is, the guy he played for Clemson, actually was a star on the QB1 high school series on Netflix as well, too. He wasn't necessarily a star. It was actually Riel who was the star of the quarterback. He was at Iowa State. He probably transferred already like most guys do. And I think everybody from that show has transferred to another school. But DJ was the guy who outplayed him for his spot. DJ literally became the starting quarterback of the team and became the most highly touted quarterback coming out of college his senior year. He was recruited by Clemson when they were the top team in the nation. You still had Trevor Lawrence there as your starting quarterback. And, that was a great guy for him to learn up under. DJ never hit the way that he was supposed to hit, because what happened with him is that they had the Notre Dame game and he lost. And that was their first loss in years during the regular season. And so pretty much he became the pressure was on after that. Literally, it was really on after that. And he never literally lived up to the potential. He did not keep the good times rolling, as you like to say, over at Clemson. Clemson actually turned back into the guys that we remembered who they were before they became a very dominant team. A team that wins 8-9 games and loses 3 or 4 games in a season. You know what I mean? And, and it's tough. And literally they did not look like themselves. And DJ, of course, there's somebody else in the rafters ready to take your spot. And he knew that. So pretty much he transfers out because the thing is we're homesick. But we know that it just was too tough at Clemson. So he leaves Clemson. Now he's at Oregon State. Oregon State really just needed a game manager, somebody who could take this team over the top at the quarterback position, and then put them in a position to possibly play for the Pac-12 title as well too. And when you look at DJ checks off all the boxes. West Coast kid, very low key as well. And Oregon, Beaverton is a great town for a guy like DJ. So this is where it works out very well for everybody moving forward. And sometimes you get a perfect storm. And this team reminds me a lot of the Washington Huskies from back in 2000, who had Marquise Tuiasosopo as their starting quarterback at that time. So I feel like everything is kind of making a full circle for this team to the point to where they can really shock the system here in a wide open Pac-12. I know a lot of people are putting their money behind USC, but USC is still a team that's building up to being who they're truly going to be. You know, it's pretty much they're running with a lot of different portal people, but at this point right now, they know what time it is. They know that it's almost time to start bringing in those super freshmen again, and USC is kind of at a impasse because I don't think this team is going to take off the way that they want to until they get to the Big Ten. So it's going to still be a wide open Pac-12 because nobody's laying down for USC and UCLA this year. Let's just keep it real. So pretty much the Beavers, to me, if you have any idea about, you know, if you have any inkling on how college football works, you know that this team is a team to be reckoned with. This team is going to be a team that's going to win you money on Saturdays, man. They're going to be a team that's going to get you the big upsets when you need them as well, too, for this college football season. So there's just a lot that works out very well for the Oregon State Beavers moving forward. So with that, we will go ahead and let's keep on moving. And what do we have next? The AAC. Is the AAC still considered a top conference with three of their biggest names leaving for the Big 12? I say this because this conference now has the top of the AAC somewhat, are the teams that probably have the best, you know, the best institutions at this point in that conference. But we all know the Conference USA used to be just like the AAC, pretty much was the AAC in a sense, because really all what Conference USA, all what the AAC truly is, what it was in the beginning was Conference USA and the Big East coming together because they both got raped by the ACC. Let's just keep it real. And now you have Houston, Cincinnati, and Central Florida are gone. So you lose rivalries with that as well, too. You lose the Houston SMU rivalry, which was a great rivalry, and you also lose the Cincinnati rivalry that they had with the teams that, you know, that they still play. Well, they didn't have anybody from the Big East no more playing there because everybody from the Big East has went to the ACC already, and their big rival was West Virginia, and West Virginia is in the Big 12. So they are now reunited with their rival. And UCF just leaves South Florida. Come on, let's keep it real. You know, that's not that big of a deal. But you bring in UAB, who's coming back, who's trying to make themselves more established into the bigger sense of things and get themselves back up to the level. And that's how it kind of was when the Conference USA was a relevant conference. UAB was one of their better teams. Charlotte, who's a Conference USA, who was a Conference USA team for a very long time, they're coming on over. But, you know, Charlotte is a team, is a school that is on the up and up. All those schools in North Carolina are on the up and up at this point. FAU has been a school that's just absolutely handled its business moving forward. The school started in the Sun Belt. They were just in the Sun Belt 6, 7, 8 years ago. They moved on to Conference USA, and now they're in the AAC. Next thing you know, they'll be in the ACC because FAU's basketball team put them over the top this year to the point to where FAU is a real school now. It is a school that you take very seriously. FAU used to be an absolute joke. You have North Texas. North Texas is a school just a few years ago. They were like in the Southeast or something of that nature. They were in a very small conference when they're big time college basketball power in that conference. I think it was the Southland Conference that they were in, to be exact. And then you got Rice. Rice is an old oldie but goodie. Rice is an old WAC team that went to the Conference USA. Now they find themselves in the AAC, and that's a big move for Rice because Rice gets to now get back into having their rivalry game with SMU, and that's huge for the conference. Rivalry games are very big for this conference, in my opinion. And then you bring in San Antonio. San Antonio is kind of a new kid on the block. They were a Division I AA team for a long time, and then they came on over, but they didn't go straight. They're another team that didn't go straight to Conference USA. They had to be an independent team for a while and came to Conference USA as we went along. So these 6 teams, just think about where they were 10 years ago. UAB was a team that was literally their football program ended. It ended. They got rid of it, and they brought it back after public demand. Charlotte is a team that was always a big time tourney upset possibility back in the 90s. They've established some great things there, and I already talked about FAU. So this is, to me, is adding intrigue to the conference? Is it adding prestige to the conference? I don't think so. I think that what it does is it just sets up this conference to either be dissolved sooner or later, or they just take on the rest of the Conference USA, because that's what the conference is becoming. Because when you add in these 6 teams and you lose 3 of them, that means that you've added 3 more teams, and then you're going to have to add 3 more teams, and those 3 teams are going to be coming from smaller conferences once again. It won't be anybody from the MAC or anything like that, but they'll be looking at teams from the Sun Belt coming over, or more teams from the Conference USA coming over. But I think that the rivalries will be great when you look at them now. You got UAB, who can have a great rivalry with, say, somebody I won't say Temple, but UAB could take over that UCF-USF rivalry. You have Charlotte, who probably will be a big rival to FAU still in that situation. But they could be a team that plays rival to Eastern Carolina, which is huge, because Eastern Carolina needed a rival as well too. Florida, as I said before about Florida A&M, Florida Atlantic, they'll take over a UCF spot. Now USF has their rival still here. And North Texas and Rice, they have the Texas Triangle going right now, so that would be a lot of fun. And actually, you add in UTSA, you actually have 4 teams from the state of Texas, and that does make up for a good rivalry. And then you add in Memphis into the mix. That should be a lot of fun. So when you look at it, you have a new day in college sports, and this conference is a conference that is kind of a project to prove exactly what to do next, and who's going to be teams that are ready to take the next step. That's all this is truly much is showing me. So let's go ahead and get into our final topic before we go on our first commercial break, and that's going to be Frank Martin wins a close unanimous decision in a fight that needed his full effort to win. What's next for the Ghost? All right, so pretty much Frank Martin went ahead and won a fight, 115-112, 115-112, 114-113, unanimous decision, as I just called off a very close scorecard that did involve, some drama in a sense, but it all worked out in the end. But Frank Martin was in a position where we've never seen him in. He was kind of confused. He didn't know exactly where to go, and he didn't know if he was really winning that fight either. But Artem came in with a very great confidence, and the guy's a Olympic bronze medalist from 2016, and he's Armenian, and Armenians are tough. You know what I mean? Armenians go in there and they know how to fight. They're not just some Euro person. Armenians, just look up Armenia's history and you know why these guys are tough guys. You know what I mean? Because literally you had to fight for bread in that country with your neighbor. So you're used to throwing hands. That's the whole thing. And so pretty much he surprised Frank Martin because Frank Martin thought that he had a guy who was ready to be pushed over. He thought he had an opponent, but this guy has actually a better resume than Frank Martin. So in a sense, if you really look at it in a global situation, Artem had a strong chance of winning his fight. And in any other situation, not in America, he possibly is the favorite. So this fight wound up being a fight that was 50-50, but most had the idea that this would be a Frank Martin showcase fight. None of the word, none of the sense. It's a WBC eliminator. When you have a WBC eliminator, that means that we're bringing in a quality opponent to go against another quality opponent. This isn't about a guy who's that much more superior than another boxer. That's what we found out about Frank Martin, is that he is a very talented boxer. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have that gear yet that says that he's really in the elite group. I think that he would be a great opponent for any of those guys, but he'll come up short in those fights. And another thing is, your trainer can't fight for you. I know a lot of people were like, well, he wasn't, Derek told him this, and Derek was disappointed. I was like, Derek will never be disappointed in any of his fighters. What happens is that he says to do a certain thing, and then when you get in the ring, other things happen. So you have to make the adjustments on the fly. And yes, it gets very frustrating, but at the end of the day, it's the boxer and their opponent. The trainer can only do so much. Once the training plan has been put into place and you step in that ring and it goes ding, ding, all that's out the window. Now you got to fight. Now you got to figure it out. And your trainer can't figure it out for you while you're in the ring. But they can have a whole lot to say from what they observe. They can give you the advice that is needed to move you forward. But at the end of the day, it's up to the spirit of the boxer to really get that victory and get it home. And that's exactly what Frank did. Frank was able to take over those last 3 rounds the way that he was supposed to. And he was on the gas in the 12th round, which forced Artem to take a knee in that round. And that was the difference in the fight. It's that simple. The fight was very close to being a split draw. It was close to being a majority decision. And on one scorecard, he actually was losing the fight on the unofficial scorecard on the TV. So there goes a lot that goes to tell you that this was a hell of a fight. And this was one of those fights that really showed us that Frank Martin does have the dog in him. You know, because we say guys have the dog in them. Guys have the dog in them. But they're one-siding somebody. We don't know. You don't know if they have the dog in them until they get into a fight where it becomes life or death, where it becomes a 50-50, where you don't know if the judges are going to be on his side. So with that, another great effort from Frank Martin, the Ghost. A learning effort from Frank Martin as well, too. And also a good glimpse at this is just boxing. It's not anything that says that these guys are always going to be superior to their opponent. Boxing's a tough sport, and everybody wants to win. Nobody's going to lay down, and this was a perfect example of that. So people had to get out of this idea that just because they like a boxer a lot, that he's just going to dominate the world. It just doesn't work like that. Floyd Mayweather gave everybody a bar to reach that they can't reach. And that's what really the problem is with a lot of fans. That's what the problem is with a lot of people who report boxing, is that they're looking for a guy to be Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather is a one of one. Muhammad Ali is a one of one. George Foreman, a one of one. Do I need to keep going? All the guys that you want to compare them to, all the guys you want them to be, they're all ones of ones. Boxing it's a different animal for every beast. You know, they can't be the same. So that's what it is. And Frank Martin really is kind of getting pulled in the direction of a guy that's behind another guy. And that's why he's so popular. If he didn't have Errol Spence as a supporter of what he's doing, because at the end of the day, TGB is his promoter. But since he works with Derek James, they're always going to put him up under the umbrella of Man Down. Man Down is a Errol Spence situation. It's not a Frank Martin situation. So pretty much, you know, he says he's his promoter, but that's just to make everybody look good. That's just to make everybody look like we're all one team. We're all one this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, Frank Martin's career is in Frank Martin's hands. And Frank Martin's going to have to put himself in a position to where he is willing to take on anybody at this point. And I know he says that on social media. I know he says that to the media, but is he truly in that mind state of doing that? I think that he is about another year and a half away from a real title shot. And I think that the best thing for him is to fight the other top lightweights who are chasing the championship, who are chasing the top as well too. Edwin De Los Santos will be a great fight for him. Also, the guy that Edwin De Los Santos just fought, that could be a good fight for him as well too. But I think De Los Santos is the fight that will probably come up next for Frank Martin, because those guys really do need each other at this point. That's a great show and prove fight to see exactly who is worthy of that championship shot when it does come, because people have to understand it's a little messy up at the top at the 135 division, because you don't really know what's going to happen. But if Devin Haney does go ahead and relinquish all those belts, what happens is that it becomes a free fall for all these top boxers. So it's a lot of great things that are ahead of us in the 135 division. But with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. And when I get back, we're going to go ahead and jump into some baseball. So you guys stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
What's up, world? We are back with the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles, and let's go ahead and jump into Blue Crew Daily. You guys already know what time it is. Blue Crew Daily. Dodgers win series against Mets. They head to Baltimore for 3-gamer against the resurgent Orioles. Now, the Orioles are a team that have absolutely destroy whatever expectations you have for them this year. The expectation was, hey, why don't they just go ahead and be a really good team and they can go ahead and have themselves a good little moment and things like that. But all in all, they have actually absolutely destroyed whatever expectations that they did have. And we could say that they are ahead. They are ahead of schedule, because you would have thought that the Orioles would be this type of team by next season. No, they are right there at the top. They have the 3rd best record in all of baseball right now at this point. They are only a game out from the actual AL East lead, which is absolutely incredible. But they are in a situation where they do have other teams that are above 500 right now that are in their division. And they actually have 2 teams in their division that are actually 10 plus games above 500 as well too, in Toronto and Tampa Bay. So they're in a good spot, because right now they have played some very confident baseball. They've won their last 8 in a row, and they just brought back up their phenomenal young pitcher in Grayson Rodriguez. Now the Dodgers come into this thing, the Dodgers are the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are pretty much making their move right now. The Dodgers find themselves now and back in the 2 spot of the National League, 2nd best record in the National League, 4th best record in baseball. And they find themselves about, I would say, 8 games behind Atlanta at this point. But from what you do know is they got some more games against Atlanta this year, so that's cool. But the only thing is with the Dodgers at this point right now is they got a team that is really a pain in the behind, and that's going to be who else? The San Francisco Giants, because Arizona absolutely was dreadful over the weekend. They've actually dropped this month. They've actually dropped 8 out of 11 games, and that's kind of surprising for a team that's been consistent all season. But they just haven't been able to win series like they were before. And they came in here. They've just lost their last 4 in a row. They went to Toronto over the weekend, and it was an absolute it was bad. And let's keep it real. It was bad. And what happens is that, they wind up getting outscored 19-9 in that series this weekend. So the Dodgers are in a good place, but the Orioles are in an even better place. But the Orioles really do got to keep winning, because once one losing streak comes into place, here comes Boston, here comes the Yankees. Blue Jays are already hot on their tail as is. So the Orioles are in a pressurized situation, and this is a playoff type of game tonight. So this should be pretty good. The Dodgers have Emmett Sheehan on the mound on their side. So the Dodgers are looking to increase that lead. The Dodgers right now find themselves a game and a half up over the Giants, 2 games up over Arizona. Now you have this Baltimore team that's a game behind Tampa Bay, and they find themselves 5 games ahead of the Blue Jays and 8 games ahead of the Yankees and Boston. Who would have thunk it? Seriously. And I was very heavy on the Orioles at the beginning of the year to be a wild card team, to be a sneaky wild card team. Be much better than 78 wins this season. This team is already damn near to that point. And all they got to do is just keep moving forward. But this is probably the toughest time of the year to really say to yourself, do we truly have that chance? Do we truly have that opportunity to be one of the better teams in baseball and get to the real end goal, and that's winning the title? And at this point in time, they're not at that point yet. Let's just keep it real. They have no guys on that team that have real playoff experience. They don't have anybody on that team that's played in the World Series, really. It's a good young bunch of guys. That's a great story for the MLB, and it's just something that you really like moving forward, that this team can be really good. And you know what they've done? They went ahead and took the actual Houston blueprint, and that's what they're using right now. And it's working out wonders for them when you think about it. Or we could say they took the Tampa Bay Rays blueprint, because the Rays have always been a team that builds up their best players on the farm and puts them on the major league field. So it is what it is at the end of the day. But the Dodgers got a 3-game series coming up in Baltimore. It should be a good one. Great game coming up tonight. And I think that what happens here is that the game actually goes over tonight. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. And we move forward from there. Let's go ahead and jump into the MLB Monday Night. MLB Monday Night, we have ourselves we have 10 games tonight in the MLB. I'm looking at the schedules right now, and I'm looking at standings. You have Milwaukee, who had a great weekend this weekend, sweeping the Reds. They wound up going back up 2 games, and they beat the Reds 5 out of 6. But going to Cincinnati and sweeping them the way that they did, they sent a real message to everybody else in the MLB that, you know what, we here and we are not to be messed with. And you know what, don't discount us. Don't get so excited about this whole move that the Reds did, because the season doesn't end in July. The season still has many weeks to go. And yes, everybody's in love with Deli, but he's not their X factor. Their X factor's hurt right now. That's Hunter Green. Hunter Green's a hell of a pitcher, and he does solidify that pitching staff as well too. But the pitching staff wasn't giving up a lot of runs this weekend. What happened is that when it came down to really being a gritty team, the Brewers were just grittier, and it's just that simple. So that's where you have that series, right? That's where you have that race right now, is where you have Milwaukee, who went into the race down 1 game, and then they come out of it up 2 games. So that's what you do when you need to go handle your business. Atlanta is just phenomenal right now. They're playing great baseball, even though they did lose the series this weekend to the White Sox, but that's okay because they're still ahead. They're still ahead by 9.5 games, and they're still ahead of the Dodgers by 9 games as well, too. So they're fine. They're in a good position, and they still, have some bragging rights going on, everything like that. But we all know that there's just a lot of things that have to fall into place for them to get caught. And it's just that simple. And then Minnesota finds themselves 2.5 games up over Cleveland right now, who struggled this weekend as well, too, against the Rangers. And, it was a really close race, but, Cleveland doesn't want to get themselves too far out of the picture. So I don't know when they play the Twins again, but when they do, it's going to be a very important series. And the White Sox, it just seems like this season may be over for these guys. They're now 8.5 games back. A few weeks ago, they were 4.5 or so, and I was getting excited. But you know what? The excitement's kind of gone now. And then when you look at the West right now, you have Texas that's sitting here at 55-39. You have the defending champions in the Astros, who are 3 games behind but still in the playoff mix. So that's what makes the Astros still dangerous, because they still in the playoff mix. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I still feel like they can't catch the Rangers. And then Seattle's trying to make a move right now. They're down 8 games. So it's a lot going on. It's a lot of fun going on in baseball. So let's go ahead and jump into our next one, to our first game, Giants and the Reds. And as I said before, the Giants, second place Giants now, they've worked themselves all the way into a prime position right now because, nobody really had this team doing that much this year, especially at the beginning of the season when they were trading off wins and losses like every day. And then they had a nice little run where they lost like 5, 6, 7 games in a row, and you didn't know what the Giants were truly going to be. Now the Giants have found themselves in a good position because they hit a nice groove, winning 12 in a row back in June. And then this month they've been steady. And so pretty much they've been able to jump ahead of the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks probably have taken a drastic tumble. This team at one point was up 4 games over the Dodgers and the Giants. And what happened is that the Giants were in second place for a little bit and kind of jumped the Dodgers. Then the Dodgers just went on a roll. The Dodgers lost the series, and the Dodgers said, you know what? I'm tired of this. And they just have went on a roll since then. The Dodgers have won their last 7 out of 10 games, and that was very helpful moving forward because now the Dodgers have a two-game lead without even playing the Diamondbacks. And the Giants have put themselves in position because they've been able to win their games the games that they're supposed to win. Now they go into a situation where they're going against a Reds team that's literally in the same boat as them. Both these teams are chasing wild card spots at this point right now, but they're both chasing an opportunity to win their divisions as well, too. So this might be one of the more important series of the week. Let's keep it real. This is going to be a very key series going into, for the long haul. These ones right here tell you exactly how we can separate these teams. But we all know that we have a lot more time left in the baseball season at this point. We got about 10 weeks left to go in the year. So every week is starting to get more and more spotlighted, more and more highlighted, and more important. So this series right here is probably the series of the week because this is going to make or break these teams moving forward, because you have to understand that wild card spot is not solidified. You got the Phillies nipping at the heels. You got the Padres nipping at the heels. And even they way far back, but still it's the Cubbies, and they can make a move at any time as well too. So it is what it is. And I think that we are on to something pretty big here with the great finish coming into play here in the MLB. So pretty much let's move forward and let's get into the Rays and the Rangers. This will probably be the American League Series of the week. Why? Because you have the Rays, the American wins leaders right now, going against the team that has the second most wins in the AL at this point. The Rangers had a pretty good series against them the first time around in Tampa Bay. And as I keep telling you guys, the Rays have struggled. The Rays are probably one of the worst teams in baseball right now. They've dropped their last 7 out of 10. They've had a terrible month. We all know that they dropped their first 7 games. They've won their last 3 out of 4. But still, you know who they won who they just beat in the series over the weekend? It was the Kansas City Royals. So you're supposed to beat the Royals. But they got beat 2 out of 3 by Atlanta, and then they wound up getting swept by Philadelphia. And what happened against Seattle, they wound up losing 2 out of 3 to Seattle. And this was after beating Arizona in a series. So pretty much this team has been traveling a lot. They just came back from the West Coast. Now they find themselves back down south after, a quick 6-game homestand. Now, it's pretty much a struggle right now on the road. And then to top it off, they have a big weekend. They have a big weekend coming up. They're playing against the Orioles in a 4-gamer on Thursday through Sunday. So that's going to be pretty tremendous. And I really don't understand why these teams don't get the ESPN game on Sunday. But then I do understand, because it's the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Who cares? Even though they do have the best record in all of baseball, or in all of the American League, and had the best record in baseball majority of the season. But when it comes down to this game, I truly do feel like what we have here is a very, very fun spot for everybody. And I will go ahead and circle the under for this spot. I feel like the pitching will be here. You got Shane McCallahan on the mound going against Dane Dunning. It should be a great pitchers duel going on between those two. All right, so let's go ahead and get to our final game that we're previewing. And this is one that's kind of obvious. It's the Yankees and the Angels from the Big A. You got the Yankees, who are in last place. Surprise, surprise. They are 50-44. And it's hilarious because they would be actually 2 games ahead in the AL Central right now. And they would be 5 games back of the Rangers, but they're 9 games back to the Rays at this point. And they are just struggling. They need Judge badly. Stanton, his better days are well behind him at this point. Even though I think that a change of scenery will probably do him pretty good at this point. But the Yankees won't be sellers. Let's just keep it real. The Yankees will be buyers. And, they may be over here taking a strong look at Shotani at this point to see if he can be the guy that puts them back into the mix. But the Yankees aren't far out in the playoff race. The Angels aren't either, but the Angels have struggled. Let's keep it real. The moment Mike Trout got hurt, they stopped winning. Okay? And that seems like it always happens. And it's really sad that, the Angels, who looked like they were about to have a fire season, like a great, great season to where they could possibly make the playoffs and then make some noise in the playoffs. Then they lose Judge. They wind up losing pretty much their next 8 out of 10 games. And to top it off, they lose 6 in a row. And that was to San Diego, and that was to the Dodgers. Losing series to these teams. You can't be losing series. That's the whole thing. So pretty much when you look at this one tonight, you got Severino going against Canning tonight. I truly do like the Yankees in this spot tonight. I think the Yankees take care of their business. I'm taking the Yankees with the plus 115 money line tonight. And that's not actually our dog of the day. Our dog of the day is actually going to be the Reds at plus 130 tonight with Logan Webb and Williamson going at it. So we're going to see how it goes. We're going to see how it shakes out. But with that, we're going to go ahead and take one final commercial break. And when we get back, we will go ahead and we are going to jump into the Talking Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Kappa. And I'll be right back at you.
Now and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. Let's go ahead and jump into talking tickets. We got the NBA Summer League Championship game today. It's going to be between the Cavaliers and the Hornets, and as you guys can see, the Cavs are the favorite today for that game. Rockets, though, the Rockets would have been a big favorite if they didn't have to put the Jabari got, they weren't going to play Jabari long, so they had to sit him down. And then, what happened to Amen? Amen got hurt in the first game after literally having a complete game, 17, 6, 6, and 6, or 17, 6, 7, 8, whatever it was. He was balling. He was killing it. So pretty much the Rockets making it was like kind of a surprise, but this team really did come together. They showed a lot of unity, and I think that the leadership of the second-year guys was very huge for this team. A lot of times, these are always the teams that wind up winning, the teams that aren't great in the NBA during the season, but they got the energy to go ahead and look really great in this situation because now they know what they're doing. And these other guys don't know what they're doing. So with that, I can't pick a winner. It's tough to pick a winner. So I'm going to be kind of even here. I like the under 191.5 as the best bet of the game. And then I like the Cavs first half minus 130. And then I like the Rockets, the plus half point, meaning that if it's tied in the first quarter, we'll cash that ticket, or the Rockets are up 1, we can cash that ticket. So all in all, this is going to be a great game tonight. I would love to see the Cavs win this game, though, to keep it real with you. So Amani Bates could get the last laugh in this one somewhat because, a lot of people were like, well, he's selfish, he's this, that, and the third. Well, his team is sitting in the championship game of the Summer League, and it kind of reminds me of when Zoe and crew got to the championship game because, that he was probably the most popular name there. Wemby was the number 1 pick, but let's keep it real. Amani Bates got a lot of people talking about him because Amani Bates was the number 1 rated player, and they thought he was coming out after his freshman year. So pretty much him staying another year and going through what he went through and scoring all the points that he did, it was a huge look, and he did some great things at Summer League this year that really did not go under the radar. Everybody had nothing but great words for him or some hate for him. How everybody's a scout now. So, pretty much that it worked out. So they're in the championship game tonight, and it will be great for him to get that last laugh. Now, let's jump into this MLB Series Bets. MLB Series Bets, we got the Guardians minus 130. We got the Reds plus 135. We got the Marlins plus 115 tonight. And then we also have the Rangers minus 125. We have the Royals plus 130. And then we got the Yankees minus 110. And that's going to be our series bets. And we hit 4 out of 6 last weekend. So hopefully we can get these ones home and get them home right. I want to go for the sweep this week, but there's value on both sides. We got dogs and favorites. So it looks good to me, and these are the more even series. So I could have put them all up there, but what's the point? These are the series that really are defining series for this week. And we finish up with the primetime pick 6. We got the over 9.5 with the Dodgers and the Orioles tonight. We also have the Reds money line, our dog of the day, plus 130. We also have the Royals minus 145, plus 1.5. Make sure they just keep the game close. That's all we need. And then we got the under 8.5 with the Rays and Rangers in their showdown tonight. And then we have the 1.5 to the Red Sox plus 125. And then we finish up with the Yankees plus 115 money line at the Big A tonight. So with that, that's going to be a wrap for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles. As I always like to say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and this is the Primetime Capper, the one and only Pop DiBiase, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.